Good morning. Today is a very special day for the homestead. Stay tuned and I'll share that news with you. Good morning. Welcome back to Pine Meadows Hobby Farm. I'm your host, Jerry Hansen. It's a very special day for the homestead today. Why don't you hang out with me while I'm doing my morning chores and feeding the livestock, and I'll tell you just how special this day is. Yeah, 5 years ago today, we signed papers on this homestead. That's right, Pine Meadows Hobby Farm became mine and my wife's 5 years ago today. They're hungry. And I just wanted to note, the day after I signed the papers, I started building this. So this building began being built 5 years ago. Yeah, so the whole story of us building this homestead can be found in our show, How a Poor Man Can Buy Cheap Property. That gives you a documentary on how we found the property and then what steps I took to actually get to buy the property. So just checking on the rabbits, making sure they're okay this morning. They have plenty of food, they have plenty of water. And my bunnies did not get pregnant, and I think it's because it got too hot. When it gets way too hot, the buck will lose its motility. I think something happens to the doe also, but right now is a good time to breed. So I'm going to come in here today, clean this up, and maybe breed some rabbits. And in a month, I'll have bunnies here in the bunny bungalow. So let's go ahead and take care of the rest of the livestock. They're hungry this morning. Okay, you guys want food? This the Quack Shack was the last building that I built on the homestead so far. This American guinea hog breed will get their snack this morning, and they'll go out and they'll forage on whatever they can find to forage on. That's what this breed is primarily bred for, is to be able to forage on the homestead, where the homesteader, when they were starting new homesteads, they didn't have a local feed store to go down and get grains and stuff, so they needed animals that could go out and forage on the native lands and the native edibles, and that's what these are bred for. And these guys really get fat just by eating what's here. Primarily grazers like a goat. They'll graze on branches, twigs, leaves, acorns, and grasses. I also want to point out that the original barn I built the same time as the chicken coop, and I built those way before I even got the house over here. I was living or staying in the small travel trailer that was parked over here, so I had some facilities to use and also get in, use the heater and get warm, cook my lunches and stuff while I worked hard over here. But these buildings were constructed before we even moved the house over. And the barn we completed, the chicken coop we completed, and then this past year the barn burnt down, and then I was able to build this brand new fancy barn. Let's get these goats fed. Here you go, Aunt Bee. Here you go, Jacob. I have the goats in this temporarily. I want to get them homed, but I'm finishing up the barn today, or this week, and getting their stall prepared because the goats will be in the barn. And this is actually set up for the 2 sows. I still got to finish up the pig shed and divide it in half and get 2 sections going, because when the sows get ready to farrow, they're going to want their own private place, so I'm going to get that all ready for them. To reminisce a little bit, let me get these guys some more feed and get them to shut up, and I can talk just a moment. Okay. About 7 years ago, I bought the double-wide manufactured home. I purchased it from actually a friend of mine, and they sold it to me for 10 grand. I had to buy wheels and axles and had tongues welded on. Anyway, I had it moved up to the Acorn Acres is where we were staying at the time, in our 5th wheel. And then I stored it in the field for a couple of years until I found Pine Meadows Hobby Farm. And then, of course, 5 years down the road, which is 5 years ago today, I came on Pine Meadows Hobby Farm. I looked at it. It was a mess. There was a single-wide mobile structure here that was completely torn apart. There was raw trash sitting around. There was 2 cars, a stripped-out RV. The place was a disaster. So, for those of you who know me by now, you know I can see the potential in everything, especially from all the free items I get. I can look at it and see if it has a repurposed value. And that's what I saw on this land. I was able to see through the disaster. So I moved the travel trailer over here and began the process of tearing apart and deconstructing what was left, salvaging as much material as I could, and using some of that material, of course, to build the barn and the chicken coop. Later came the new well house, and then the bunny bungalow, and then the quack shack. Once we got the house moved over and set up, boy, let me tell you what, setting that house up by myself with very little help. See, the kids weren't living on the homestead at the time, so it was just me and my blushing bride, Becky. She helped me with what she could. There's several projects she did lend a hand on where I absolutely needed another pair of hands. So we put this house together, put it on a cement block foundation. I went on the University of YouTube and learned how to do cement block footings and foundations. I downloaded the code book from Oregon State website to make sure I was building everything to code, because with a permit package I got to trade out the mobile homes, it was relatively inexpensive, so I was able to do, as a landowner, all of the work myself, but the county inspector still had to come and inspect my work to make sure it was done to code and it was all safe. So all that was done, and then I moved the solar package over from Acorn Acres. We put the solar panels together. I put the windmill up. I've got videos in the archives that demonstrate each and every step as I did it, so be sure to watch those if you haven't already. And it just shows you how much I've done, and I want to emphasize I did it myself, which was quite the accomplishment, to be able to learn as I go and to be able to do these things. It's a wonderful feeling that I could build all this with these two hands. The fencing also went in the very first few months that I owned the property. In fact, that was probably one of the first things I did, was get the fence in place as much as I could with what fencing I had. There's other pieces of fencing I didn't have yet, so I had to add those later. But for the it took 2 years to get everything, all the infrastructure in, the house together. We got the house over here and set up probably the second year that we'd owned the place. So we'd actually been in this house for 4 years. I think about 3.5, 4 years we've actually been in the house. And the pond, we attacked that after we got the house done. Becky and I came out and we both cleaned out the pond. It was in a sad state of affairs when we bought this. It was choked full of cattails, and so we cleaned out the cattails. We let the pond fill up with water, and made it a really nice feature in the backyard. The very first livestock I had on the homestead were the ducks and the geese that I had over at Acorn Acres. I just moved them down here because I had the stock panels to be able to create duck pens for them. And then when I was able to get the pond done, boy, they had so much fun with all that space, they didn't know what to do. Then I eventually added the beehives. A friend of mine was retiring and she wanted to sell her beekeeping equipment, so she sold me all the beehives for a really good price. So I put those together, and I've been a struggling beekeeper ever since. I will still keep plugging away and trying to keep bees and doing my best at learning beekeeping as well as other things. I have to say the garden has been a real challenge over here at the homestead. But as I am able to spend more time on the garden, and I plan to spend a lot of time on the garden this next spring, we hope to have it producing everything we need to eat. Right now, we've got the greenhouse now, and that was courtesy of a reality TV show that we filmed last year called Homestead Rescue. Our episode was called Honey, I Torched the Homestead, and it's aired on Animal Planet sometimes, and it's also on Discovery Channel is the home channel it's located on. So yeah, we've just been really blessed to have that new greenhouse. I've always wanted a greenhouse. I collected a bunch of windows from contractor friends of mine and resourced those windows, and this is what, between my daughter and Misty Rainey, this is what they designed and put together. I'm really impressed. Really like it. So yeah, it's been 5 years of an absolute adventure, and it was a year into purchasing the land that I inadvertently, accidentally started this YouTube channel. So check out that first video on my YouTube channel. I was trying to sell this vintage toy to generate the money to be able to build the foundation under the house. I was able to take that little vintage $5.55 toy and sell it on eBay or through eBay and Craigslist and PayPal, and YouTube. I used all those platforms to market that thing. I think I got $880 out of it. $5.55. Yeah, it gave me the money I needed, along with selling the axles, wheels, and tires from the mobile structure, and I was able to buy all the material I needed to finish the foundation. So in retrospect, reminiscing on what we first saw the day we got to the property, this is what we first saw. And now I'll take and do a camera pan and show you then, and I'll show you now. So, welcome home to Pine Meadows Hobby Farm, a modern homestead tucked high in the Cascade Ranges of the Pacific Northwest, located in southwestern Oregon. I want to thank you guys for sharing this special adventure with me. It's been 5 awesome years and 5 very rewarding years. I'm your host, Jerry Hansen. I want to thank you guys for coming. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and also clicking on that bell icon alerts you to new videos as I upload them, like this one here. And also leave a comment. I like reading your comments. I try to get back to you in a timely manner and answer all of your questions that you have for me. You can also find me on social media. I go out on Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest. There's a platform called Reddit and Blogger. I'll see you guys in more episodes. I guarantee that. Bye-bye.